Morning, members. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please remind you to ensure mobile phones and other devices are on silent, that banners, etc. are not permitted, and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones which are available when addressing the meeting, that you may be filmed or recorded during this meeting. Thank you. And thank you for being upstanding for your chairman. Chairman? I think we've got a chairman.
Good morning, members.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Firstly, prayers are to be led by my chaplain, Reverend Bryony Wood. Bryony.
I was asked recently to consider updating the official county council prayer. And whilst it was a really good and solemn prayer, its language was, perhaps to our modern ears, somewhat old-fashioned and not how we speak with each other today. But you won't be surprised to hear that I actually really believe in the power of prayer. Coincidences happen when I pray. So I was really pleased to be asked, and I have submitted my option. I tried to capture the meaning of the previous prayer, but it was written in a more accessible way, a way that may help us all who use it to really engage with the person to whom we're praying, God himself, and also to recognise the power and relevance of prayer on occasions such as this. Meanwhile, whatever language we use, whether we use formal written prayers, long prayers or short prayers, I honestly don't think God minds. He is, I believe, just delighted that we are talking with him. There's a supernatural wonder in pausing to pray for those few moments, for these few moments. We step outside ourselves and accept that some things are beyond us and that we are seeking guidance from a someone whom we can't see, yet trust is listening. Someone who has both the compassion and power to act. So let's pause. Father God, thank you that we can pray to you at the start of this meeting. Thank you for the privilege we have in seeking your help and wisdom. Help us to honour you in our discussions and decisions, and to honour each other as we meet to shape our community. And help us to focus now on the business in hand. Amen.
Amen.
Members, please be seated. Members, I'd like to remind you to treat each other with respect in the chamber and to behave in accordance with the members' code of conduct. This includes addressing me when speaking, listening respectfully when other members are speaking, and not shouting about or interrupting them. And members, please use appropriate language. This is my last full meeting of council as chairman, and I look forward to a well-behaved meeting. Thank you. Minutes. The minutes have been circulated. Is it your wish that the minutes be accepted as a true and correct record? Comment? Yes, please.
It's in relation, Chair, to the accuracy of the minutes on page 8, where we've got the list of councillors that went out of the meeting for more than 10 minutes. I'm glad to see you got me down for 11 minutes. I'll have to eat more fibre. Anyway, when you look at the bottom two, Councillor Welsh went out at 4:37 and came back at 7:18, and Michael Payne 4:37 and came back at 7:17. Does that mean 17:17? because we're all going home at that time. Thank you, Chair. Just thought to
Very
point
sharp
out-
of you to notice that, Councillor. Thank you very much. Is everybody in agreement with the minutes? All those in favour? Thank you very much. For absence, Councillor Barnfather,
No apologies, Chairman.
Councillor Henry,
Yes, thank you, Chair. We've got 3 apologies from our members today. Councillor Annie Callahan and Councillor Sheila Place for other reasons, and Councillor Maggie McGrath, who is attending a family funeral.
thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Deakin, are there any apologies?
Chair, Councillor Deakin is one of our apologies this morning. Unfortunately, she's fell foul to our highways in repairs, and it's taken her car. Hopefully, she will be here soon. Also, Chair, Councillor Wilmot is on other council business and will hopefully join us this afternoon. Councillor Smith is unwell. Councillor Darby has unfortunately lost her mother this week, and I'm sure we all want to send her our condolences. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I also had a bereavement last night, so I might not be in the chamber as much as I'd like. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zadrossi, for explaining that. So, as an interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state what type of interest it is and give brief details.
Members, just for the avoidance of doubt, obviously you're going to discuss the pay policy statement later, and there are a number of officers in the room who that obviously has an impact on, but there's no need for anyone to be declaring any interest around that item in case any members were concerned about that.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Chairman's business. Sir John Peace is with us today.
Thank you, Chair. I'm presuming that as a Nottingham season ticket holder at Nottingham Forest, I will have to declare an interest as a season ticket holder.
Not a declaration of interest in a formal sense.
So, I'll proceed. As members will be aware, Sir John Peace has recently stepped down from his role as Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire, having served in the role since July 2012. I'm so pleased that we have Sir John here with us today, allowing us the opportunity to say a few words and offer our heartfelt thanks for his service. Sir John, your tireless involvement in numerous civic and ceremonial services has elevated these occasions, making them truly exceptional and memorable events. It has always been a pleasure to attend events where you are involved and present. Thank you so much for your distinguished occupation of this prestigious and important and responsible position in serving our late Queen and present King, and on behalf of Nottinghamshire County Council, including the wider community of our county of Nottinghamshire, I thank you. And I'm sure some of the members, perhaps many of them, will wish to add their comments and thanks, so I will now invite members to speak. Councillor Saddington.
Well, good morning, Sir John. When I heard you were retiring, I was quite sad, as I've known you in your role as Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire for many years. In fact, we only live 4 miles away from each other. And I can really say that we have a little more in common, and that is we go to the same place for holidays, don't we, Sir John? We haven't met, but he goes for his fun and happy holidays with his family. So during your time in office, you have given everything you can to this county. You have encouraged and promoted business enterprise. You've supported and encouraged the young, and acknowledge the hard work of volunteers, not least by inviting hundreds to your garden party every other year within the lovely garden of your house. At civic events, your dear wife Christine is always at your side. This county will miss you. However, I wish you and Christine a well-deserved, long, happy and healthy retirement. My heartfelt thanks to you both, and I'm sure I shall still see you. And we now welcome Veronica to become the Lord Lieutenant, whom I wish every success and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saddington. Councillor Roger Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words about Sir John and Lady Pearce, who I had a great pleasure in my year as Chairman getting to know very well, and we attended many memorable events together over my year as Chairman of Notts County Council. Unfortunately, we had during my year the death of our dear Queen, and the Chairman and myself and the High Sheriff, along with Sir John, I always remember sitting down in the Ruffers Suite here at NCC, going through the document called London Bridge, which was quite a unique event for us all to be doing. Unfortunately, we had to do it, but it was quite unique. And then, of course, it was followed by the proclamation of the new King, the Queen's funeral, and the coronation of King Charles III, which were all in that civic year. So we had quite a few civic events to attend that year. But on behalf of myself and Gilly, I would like to thank Sir John for all the work he did. We built quite a nice friendship, and we various events that we went to. And I know Sir John is very passionate about Nottinghamshire, and I think we need to thank him for all the hard work he does, and I think he will continue to do in promoting Nottinghamshire and getting businesses and looking after the youth of Nottingham over the future years as well. So I do thank you for that, because I've seen the insight of the work that you do for Nottinghamshire in my year as Chairman. And also, I think we ought to probably congratulate Professor Veronica for being made our new Lord Lieutenant, and wish her the very best as well in her year and term of office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Bradley, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your attendance this morning, Sir John, and for your time and your service over 12 years, which is a very long time to do that job, isn't it? A huge amount of respect for all that Sir John has done during that period. The 12 chairman and vice chairman of this council that he's worked with and supported through those civic years and engagements, and the immense influence that he has had on our county, on our region, across many different partnerships, organisations, different civic and professional duties, where he works in leading and advising all sorts of other wider business and strategy groups across our region as well. I think respected by all of us and by people across our county for the immense experience that he brings to that role, and always somebody who I know many colleagues have been able to approach for that support and advice and guidance over my time in this role, which has always been willingly and graciously given, and I'm very grateful for that. I think the commitment to our area and our region is plain to see when it comes to not only Sir John's role as Lord Lieutenant, but also through the Midlands Engine, Midlands Connect, the STEP partnership that he chairs. He's the go-to guy when it comes to trying to convene a group of people and keep everybody on board, because of the respect that he has across political divides and across different sectors of our county, our economy, business and community organisations. And a very eventful recent few years, of course, as he's led us with that royal engagement through jubilees, through royal weddings, through the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and of course the coronation, as well as tragic events such as the murders in Nottingham last year, where Sir John was a visible and strong presence for those communities too. There's huge respect, I think, out there for that and for that presence that he offers, and that stability even in those difficult times. I want to thank you, Sir John, for your personal support throughout the work we're doing here, through all those various roles that you play in our wider economy and strategy as well for the region. Always been incredibly grateful for all of that. I know you don't enjoy all of this, so I hope it's not too painful for you this morning, but really grateful for your attendance. We were all sorry that we couldn't attend your event at the Cathedral at Minster recently. Unfortunately, we sat in here talking about the budget, but I know that similar tributes were paid then across our county, and will continue to be paid as you step down from that role, and still active, of course, in many of those other bodies and working hard for our area. I know that will continue in whatever you choose to do next. I'd like to offer best wishes to Veronica Pickering. I think she will do a fantastic job. Fascinating woman with incredible experience to offer, I think, to the role. So looking forward to working with her as well. But thank you again for your many years of service, and I hope wish you and Christine the best in whatever you do next.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Zadrozny.
Thank you, Chairman. Sir John, I just want to stand on behalf of my group and associate ourselves with the comments of sincere thanks for all you've done, and particularly, I'm sure you wouldn't think it remiss of me to thank you for what you've done for Ashfield, and particularly over the last 6 or 8 months. I think most of the occasions you and I bumped into each other were with armed forces hats on, and you've done an incredible job for that. But the stuff that you helped and support with at the planetarium and observatory recently, and the passion which you spoke about those projects, and the kind and gracious way you helped with fundraising and getting people together at your home, I think is really commendable. So thank you very much for your service. You've been a huge ambassador and a friend to my district and to Nottinghamshire, and very warm good wishes for everything you do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zadrozny. Councillor Fowle.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, I think the kind of comments that you're hearing today, I think we all appreciate the work you've been doing, Sir John. So, on behalf of the whole Labour group, I'd just like to say a big thank you for all the work you've done for the County of Nottinghamshire. You've really all put Nottinghamshire first, and as Councillor Strotty said, been a fantastic ambassador for us. And clearly, when I saw the list of the kind of things you've got involved in, it's a massive sphere of influence and kind of support that you've given. It's really impressive. So, thank you very much. Our paths haven't crossed as much as I would have liked to have done, so I'm sorry about that. But I know some of our members, we really have, and they're going to speak up in a minute about personal, really very positive experience about how you've helped and supported them with some very important kind of voluntary and charity work. So thank you for that. So all the very best for the future for the Labour group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowle. Councillor Quigley.
Thank you, Chairman. I first met Sir John some years ago when I was invited to one of his garden parties as chairman of Bassett Law Hospice, when he invited lots of charities to attend his house and enjoy the surroundings of the garden and some very nice food as well, which was most enjoyable. But during my year of office, Christine and John and Wendy and I become firm friends with the two of them, and we have kept in touch over since then. Not as much as I would like, but John and Christine were very supportive during my year as chairman, particularly as we were just coming out of COVID as well, which was quite a traumatic period. But he also did me a great favour, because we recently had a large refurbishment of the hospice in Retford, spending some £1.5 million, and trying to find somebody to reopen it for us. Sir John very kindly offered to do it as he was coming to the end of his term. But what many people didn't know, that it's a very difficult place to find, isn't it, Sir John? And the postcode actually takes in what used to be called the Rose Gardens, which were part of the hospital. The hospice itself is tucked behind the hospital, and you would never see it. You could drive past it half a dozen times and not know you'd done so. But you can imagine the look on the householder's face when he turned down the road next to the hospice and knocked on the door in his full regalia and uniform, asking where Bassett Law Hospice was. I would like to have been there and seen the look on the lady's face, but And bear in mind, Sir John, you actually suffered as well from the floods from Cornton Bay. Your cars were underwater. I think you borrowed the wife's car to come and open at the hospice. And like the chairman, you don't have a chauffeur, so we have quite a bit in common. So I'd like to thank you for all the work that you do in not only in Nottinghamshire but in the East Midlands. You've been a champion for business, for everything that goes with the East Midlands and Nottinghamshire. And I'd just like to add my thanks to those that have already been given, and wish your successor as a good a term of office as you've had, Sir John.
Thank you, Councillor Quigley. Councillor Allen, would you like to speak?
Well, when I've switched on the apparatus and can speak properly, it's on now. Sir John, it is so nice to see you, and I was so sorry that we missed your big bash at Southall. Although we've all seen Southall many times, we haven't seen you enough, I don't think. I shall remember a few things since everybody else has covered most things. I have a particular hat you said you liked one day. I won't say that I framed it and put it on one side, but every time I wear it, I do think Sir John liked this hat. So it's an added bonus to me wearing it. And the other thing was that I introduced you to some charities, and they are still grateful for the interest you showed and the extra input you had into their lives and their charities and the work that they did. So it's not just the figurehead that you are to be there, but also your lovely smile and your interest in everything we do. I could go on, but I won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Fielding, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to recall I met Sir John when I was Chairman of Bassett Law. I think I did civic role 4 years in a row, but it was here that the Commonwealth flags were presented. So I took the Commonwealth flag, two Commonwealth flags, back to Bassett Law, and you delivered a really strong and message about the Commonwealth, as I say, and that has been actively followed ever since within the county. I also want to mention all the work and support you've given for the Royal British Legion. I know it's very dear to your heart, and the fact that you attended conferences and other things as well, and supported across both the city and the county in this. And I was really delighted that the Royal British Legion awarded you the highest award that they can give, personally endorsed by the national chairman, the National Certificate of Achievement, because you have really made a tremendous difference to veterans and to the work of Royal British Legion. And I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Councillor Fielding. Councillor Lawton, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sir John lives in Cornton, which is I represent as the county councillor. So I'm going to sort of mention a different group. My residents of Cornton are most appreciative of all the work Sir John has done for that community. He has worked tirelessly on behalf of them and continues to do so. And I, like Sue, have been to some of his garden parties, and they are exceptional and also directed at the community of which he lives in, which is to be applauded for. In fact, what I can say, he's got the most amazing vegetable garden. As a farmer, I sort of look at it, I'm just looking at it and thinking, I would love to have a vegetable garden like that. But there we go, that's just me. Everything is in line and it's just perfect. So, but that's a farmer talking. But no, on behalf of the residents of Cornton, I would just like to say thank you, Sir John, and wish you and Christine all the best in your retirement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lawton. Councillor Neil Clark.
Are you feeling embarrassed yet, John? Chairman, I've known Sir John for many years, even before he became Lord Lieutenant. We've had lots and many conversations, and in fact, actually, we've had several conversations on the train, putting the world to rights and talking about business. And those are the sorts of conversations, Chairman. Sometimes these informal conversations are very useful because that leads to achieving something else rather than just being in a formal meeting. And that's where Sir John has excelled in being able to achieve many things. I hope you forgive me, I'm speaking both as a county councillor and on this one occasion as leader of Rushcliffe as well, because not just supporting business, but Sir John has supported communities and really been a fantastic ambassador for Nottinghamshire, not just locally, but even around the world as well, and promoting Nottinghamshire in other parts of the world. So, and not content with that, but then also the wonderful garden parties that everybody's talked about, and indeed beating the retreat as well, which was an extremely impressive event. So I just want to add my thanks to Sir John, Mr. Chairman, for all the fantastic work he's done as an ambassador for Nottinghamshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Pringle.
Thank you, Chair. Sir John, there's people that come in to your lives that you know has got integrity. I think every one of us here today never doubt your integrity with everything that you've done for Nottinghamshire, which is recognised. And you've heard the applause from everyone that's spoken about your efforts. That's huge, and you should take it away. That's how we all feel for you. The one thing I think is your greatest achievement, I'm not going to speak for long, although I really am interested, obviously, being a salad lover, at your vegetable garden, seeing just your straight lines and your lettuces and your carrots. However, there's no question that in this dinner challenge, that your greatest achievement was actually being at Southwell Minster while we were here discussing budget. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Gurley, would you like to speak?
Yes, please, Chairman. I can't claim to have known Sir John for a very long time. In fact, it's a relatively short period of time, but I know him well enough to know that he'd be cringing over the word retirement. There's no way is Sir John retiring. He might be stepping down from the role as Lord Lieutenant, but he certainly won't be retiring. And I know we've got a couple of commonalities as well in terms of our love for this country. I think that's unparalleled, but also our love for the Queen, having served Her Majesty for all my adult life, really. And I know how much that passing impacted on you, Sir John. And I thought the way that you conducted yourself and what you did for the people of Nottinghamshire during that time was absolutely exemplary. And it filled my heart with a lot of pride for being part of Nottinghamshire. Obviously, as the Armed Forces champion, I'm absolutely grateful for all the support you show the Armed Forces in Nottinghamshire. I know you're passionate about it, and that comes across in abundance when I've seen you giving awards out to cadets and things like that all deserve that praise. I also know you've had one of the highest awards and accolades that can be given. You was one of the first people to win the Boots and Berries Outstanding Personality of Nottinghamshire Business Awards. So well done with that. You're the first recipient of that, and that's going from strength to strength. Obviously, because everybody's trying to compete with your achievements there. But also then there's the step. I don't think we can underestimate the impact you had on bringing STEP to Nottinghamshire. We was bidding against eight of the councils. Well, we had two bids, but your presence in front of UKAA and the gravitas that you brought and the people that you brought together demonstrated to UKAA how we work together as partners and and having you there as the anchor gave them the confidence to say, actually, we're going to go to Nottinghamshire. So no matter who claims they brought STEP to Nottinghamshire, you was a massive part of that, Sir John, and we're going to be in the eyes of the world because of what you brought there. So really, it's just say thank you for everything you do. I look forward to the fact that you're still going to be on STEP, because I think they'd have to pry your hands away from the gavel to stop you doing that. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the future, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Councillor Payne, would you like to speak?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sir John, I rise to say thank you on behalf of every single member of staff at Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service in my capacity as Chairman of the Fire and Rescue Service, and not least our very brave firefighters. I think it's fair to say, John, and you know this better than I do, that you have been one of their biggest champions. You've turned up every single year for the annual Fire Service Awards, not only recognising our emergency services, but also brave members of the community who have stepped in to save lives. The role was created in the 1540s, I think, John, you'd correct me if I was wrong, by Henry VIII. And I think there have been fewer than 30 Lord Lieutenants. And I think it's fair to say, John, as you reflect in your retirement and look back over history, you will look back with pride, because I think if you compare you to the 30 other Lord Lieutenants this great county has had, the achievements you've made, the impact that you have left for our communities and the people who live here, I think you've demonstrated that you've used the role for good and to impact the wider community. I also entirely agree with Councillor Jackson. I dearly loved the late Queen, and I don't think she could have had a finer representative to give her the dignified reflection that she deserved as she passed away. I thought you did an absolutely sterling job on behalf of this great county, and I think you did her very proud and the royal family very proud as well. I think you're a tremendous individual. I think you've always been guided by your personal values of integrity. It says behind the chairman, Sir John, Sapientia Proficiens, which means progress through wisdom, and we've all benefited from your immense wisdom. Thank you for your service, Sir John.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Martin, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to reiterate what everybody said, but Sir John, I would like to thank you on behalf of the previous Ashfield District Council Chairman, who I know really, really appreciated your visit. And it's the impeccability that you bring with your presence. And I'd also like to highly commend you on 12 years in that job. Blimey heck, 12 years. But as a member of the public, a councillor, and now a county councillor, coming from the back to the front, the pageantry and the way you carry yourself has been absolutely fantastic. And it's a privilege, and it always sets your heart going when you see, you know, the War Memorial over on the embankment. I was there at Southwell when we signed the Armed Forces Covenant, and things like that. And people don't appreciate how involved the job is. And I thank you for taking 12 years of your life to do that. And what an impeccable job you've done from the members of the public through to a county councillor. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, members. Sir John, I would now like to invite you to speak.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished councillors, guests, some of whom I know very well, I am humbled, I feel very emotional, but it's with great gratitude I thank you so much for those warm comments today. You know, the late Queen, who had a big influence on me in terms of doing this role for these 12 years, and I hope the King will continue for many more years, but I will always be, in many ways, the Queen's Lord Lieutenant. And she always said, it's not about me, it's about you. And when she was so young, and to give that speech where she talked about dedicating her life to service, be it long or short, how inspirational was that? And she did it for all those years. And everybody, they may not have agreed with monarchy, but they respected the Queen right around the world. And I'll never forget that funeral. 5 billion people around the world focused on this nation. to pay their respects to this Queen. So I am honoured to have been the Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire. I am greatly honoured to have served Her Majesty the Queen. And I am immensely proud of being able to work with so many of you throughout this period to do things in service to help others. That's why many of you are here. And 12 years ago, Mr. Chairman, I had just stepped down, again, not retired. I think I'd done it 3 times at that stage. I'd run a company called Experian. I had broken a group up called GOS, which today the parts are still thriving, and of course one of them was Burberry, which I took public. And of course I chaired the largest trade bank in the world for almost 10 years. I had lots of offers to do other things because I wasn't retiring. But I remember talking to this great lady, and she said things to me about service. And I thought the time was right now for me to do public service. I'd never done it. I'd never been a councillor. I didn't really understand how national government or local government worked. But what I wanted to do was to serve my community, to serve my country. And as Keith knows, I'm passionate about that. To work with our armed forces, to work with our emergency services, with our NHS, to work together in collaboration to get things done. And I couldn't think of a better role than Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire to achieve that. Now at the time, some of you may know this, but others may not, it was quite controversial because I was still running 3 FTSE 100 companies. And there was controversy over whether or not I could possibly fit in this Lord Lieutenancy job. And I made it very clear that's not the issue. I want to do the Lord Lieutenancy job for Nottinghamshire, and the question is, can I fit in these other 3 FTSE 100 companies, which I did and all are successful today. But Mr. Chairman, the reason for that, and that's what I want you all to appreciate today, is this is my home. I live here, my family live here in Nottinghamshire. I care about this great county. And although I'm stepping down as Lord Lieutenant, and I certainly will not get in the way of Veronica Pickering, who I'm sure will do a brilliant job, but in a different way as Lord Lieutenant, I continue to want to serve my county, my region, and my country. And that will shape what I do next. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to, in my closing remarks, as I meet so many people, and remember there's over 1 million people in Nottinghamshire, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire together, there's over 1 million people, and we have to think about everyone, inclusive leadership, not divisive leadership. And I think here in Nottinghamshire, more than just the East Midlands, in Nottinghamshire particularly, we are on the cusp of a major change with a combined authority coming along, access to funding. We've already mentioned STEP, but I could reel off a whole series of things in Ashfield, the observatory. I was only having a conversation about a further addition to that earlier this week. We have to be bold. We have to be wise, sometimes cautious, but more than anything, we have to be inclusive and think of everyone, because if we can't drive growth, if we can't create prosperity for everyone, or at least try to create prosperity for everyone, we will have failed. And Her Majesty would not have shouted or thumped the table or complained. She'd have rolled her eyes, her eyebrows, and say, Prime Minister, I'm not sure that's right, you know. And then we'd know the direction was wrong. So, Mr. Chairman, I would say to all the councillors here today, and I've seen this particularly in the last 4 years through COVID, through major events that have affected our nation, you do a vitally important job. And at times it can be argumentative, it can be divisive, it can be, you have different points of view. But remember, It's the people of Nottinghamshire that you are serving, and I will continue to do what I can in the background to help you achieve that. But so thank you so much on behalf of me and my wife Christine for all the support you've given us over these 12 years. And just remember this, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
So thank you, Sir John. And as has been mentioned, Sir John's successor is Professor Veronica Pickering. She actually used to be one of my flock, and on behalf of the Chamber, I would like to congratulate Veronica on her appointment and offer her support and well wishes as she undertakes this role. So I'm now going to update Council on the business undertaken since the last meeting. On the 3rd of March, I attended the High Sheriff's Veronica Pickering's legal service and lunch. The Nottingham Roosevelt Memorial Travelling Scholarship interviews took place on the 7th of March at County Hall here. Your chairman was one of the interviewees. And that weekend I attended the Hercules Clay commemoration service at Newark Town Hall. On the 11th of March, I attended the Commonwealth Flag Raising Day at Ashfield. Notts County Council did fly the Commonwealth flag that day here at County Hall. In the evening, I attended a concert to celebrate the Commonwealth 2024 at the Playhouse in Nottingham. I attended John Hemsel's funeral. And on Sunday the 20th, the 20th anniversary Kavya Rang, a poetry group at the Hindu temple, combined with a book launch, The Seven Steps. There is a quiz taking place on the 27th of March. Many departments in the County Council are forming competitive teams, but individuals are welcome. The quiz will take place in the Derek Randall Suite at the Trent Bridge Cricket Ground. The tickets can be obtained online or see the civic officers at the chamber entrance where the tickets can be obtained. Sarah needs to know who is coming by 9 a.m. tomorrow, she tells me. So that is for the evening of the 27th of March. The sponsored parachute jump is also for the NSPCC, and it will take place on the 9th of April. The civic officers have sponsorship forms at the entrance of the chamber again. They are Sarah and Mick, our newest recruit. Sylvia Brown, wife of Andrew Brown, our ex-county council, will be jumping, and I will be present. So I think I'm first reserve, actually.
Yeah.
We will break for lunch at approximately 12:30 today. Item 5, Constituency Issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any particular issues arising in their electoral division which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simply to air these issues in the council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issues or a question and answer session. Members are reminded that there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item on the agenda, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any speech is not heard in the time limit will fall and can be submitted again at a future meeting. We have 6 speeches today. The chairman will call the following members. Firstly, Councillor Hollis, regarding the impact of the cost of living crisis in Southern West.
Thank you, Chairman. I know this is an issue that's affected many divisions across Nottinghamshire, and I'm very blessed to represent Huthwaite and Sutton on the County Council and Ashfield District. But there's no getting around the fact that Ashfield is the poorest district in Nottinghamshire, and Huthwaite and Sutton are some of the most deprived parts of Ashfield. And there's no getting around the fact that our areas felt the real brunt of not only national and international, but of course government and local government mismanagement here in the town. And one of the things I wanted to pick up on that I've been finding on the doorstep across Huthwaite and Sutton is just a few issues, and one of them being school fines. Taking your children out, often to a once-in-a-lifetime trip, that it may be abroad, it may be in the UK. And members will have seen that now these fines are going up. And I think and being the County Council, of course, overseeing the issuing of these fines, what we need to be doing is actually calling for common sense on both sides, because actually many of the families I represent want to be able to take the kids on holiday and to somewhere that they've never been before, but they're either choosing between getting a good deal and taking the kids out of school for a week, or paying exceptionally high prices during the school holidays. Either one often inhibits them from taking them away, and I think that's awful. So what I'd like the County Council to maybe look at doing is firstly write to all the head teachers and actually call for common sense. So if this kid's got full attendance and the family are clearly doing this for something as a one-off, there should be an exception made, and we should be having some sort of common sense approach. But what we also should be doing is using our influence as a county council to try and impact some of the holiday firms and things. Is there some deals that they can offer? And using our might, we represent over 1 million people, as we've just heard. That's the kind of things we ought to be doing. But also, members will be aware, Mr. Chairman, that there's other things on the horizon. Like the County Council are already starting to talk about outsourcing school meals, outsourcing Meals on Wheels. These are all going to be affecting the most vulnerable people that I represent. And these are things that we have an impact on, Mr. Chairman. And of course, there's the potholes, which of course, again, we have an impact on, where they're damaging people's cars. People in Ashfield rely on their cars to get to work, Mr. Chairman. And I think if we can't patch the roads properly, how can we expect them to pay their council tax and pay all their bills on time, which of course funds all the other great work that we do? So while this is an issue that affects most members, Mr. Chairman, it's hitting my constituents very hard, and I really hope the members and officers in this room today will actually do what we can to impact change. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garland to speak next regarding the heritage assets of cultural value in West Bridgford North. Councillor Garland.
West Bridgford North is the area of Nottinghamshire with the highest international profile, being home to both Nottingham Forest Football Club, Trent Bridge Cricket Club, and being close to the county ground and water sports centre. Most residents are very proud of this, and although I have little interest in sport myself and cricket is a complete mystery to me, I love the buzz of an international cricket match, the cheerfulness and the buzz when there's a football match, and being able to hear cheers, boos and the mull of Kintyre from my garden. It makes the area feel full of life and joyful.
What residents do not like is being taken for granted or simply ignored by the powers that be, including Forest and this county council. I have to say, magpies are very good neighbours. When I moved to Westbridge 25 years ago, parking was never a problem on my street, and I hardly noticed the matches. Over the years, the number of people travelling to events by car has rocketed, and the size of cars has ballooned, so now they totally engulf and dominate the area during an event. Roads are closed with gates, ostensibly for safety reasons, but frankly for no thought for the lives of residents who can't get home after shift work. At least now they have electronic signs warning of enclosures, and I can't help wondering if these signs were due to pressure from the well-heeled residents with friends in high places who live in the old civic centre. Meantime, Lady Blake Bridge is closed completely for unpredictable lengths of time after a game. I'm told this is for safety reasons, but having witnessed the buses leaving the City ground after the Man U match a few weeks ago, it appeared to me that safety is being conflated with convenience of the club and the police, whilst massively inconveniencing residents from across the whole of the south of the county and the city. This should be better managed, at least allowing pedestrians to cross the bridge, and it doesn't seem much to ask for electronic signs warning when the bridge will be closed. Why can't Nottinghamshire County Council lead the way with working with the clubs to establish 21st century internationally leading travel plans to suit the internationally leading clubs? The co-location of the sports ground and County Hall has massive advantages in terms of shared car parks, potentially shared travel plans, and the development of businesses support the visitor economy in this area. Although I object to County Hall, the county abandoning this building, this site presents an opportunity to exploit the unique constellation of sporting areas, arenas, particularly and maybe with an interactive sports museum, hotel and conference centre on this site. But now, in a nakedly political move, the county are casually offering to move the forest ground to Towton. Do you think about the chilling event this politically motivated quip would have on the small businesses of West Bridgford? Did you think about the impact of this action on the potential redevelopment of this site? Join up the dots. The people of West Bridgford don't want to be moaning about blocked buses and public pavements. We want to embrace and support these amazing sporting facilities and be out there with ticker tape.
The speech regarding the disruption to traffic flow on highways in Nuttall and Kimberley division caused by excessive, poorly planned utilities works.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I would like to share with members the problems that we've been encountering in Kimberley in particular, but the effects spread much more widely. The total disruption to the Kimberley area, with shoppers taking up to 45 minutes to be able to get out of the Sainsbury's car park. You can't go for a simple shop without being stuck in the car park now on a regular basis. And this is all because of Cadent's arrogant incompetence. Last summer, they were supposed to be laying a new gas main through Kimberley, which of course would have caused disruption, but nevertheless was work that had to be done. The work was going to be coordinated, or was coordinated, I think, by officers in highways with National Grid, who wanted to do some work at the same time, all very sensible to kill two birds with one stone. But then at the last minute, Cadent pulled out. They didn't want to go ahead with the work. No, doesn't suit us to do it. And as a result, with regular frequency, there have been gas leaks across that main, causing closure of the road and, as many people have described, Carmageddon. The last closure resulting in a fortnight of complete disruption. They failed to comply with instructions from this county council to operate traffic lights manually to try and reduce the issues that they were causing. This results in huge queues of traffic, bus services disrupted, danger to pedestrians trying to get across the road, and perhaps even worse than all of those was the disruption to the businesses along the high street. And those businesses are not even allowed to claim compensation unless the disruption lasts consecutively, continuously for, I think it's 8 weeks. These are small businesses who, like many businesses across Nottinghamshire, have suffered in the past from the COVID problems. I hope that, and I appreciate that we have few powers to deal with these statutory undertakers, but I hope we will use all the powers that we have, including fines, to send out a clear message to organisations like Cadent. And in particular, in finishing, Chairman, I do want to thank the compliance staff of Fire for all the efforts that they've put in. I'm sure they are sick of me ringing them up as I am sick. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We've only got 4 minutes left. So, Councillor Lee Waters, can you bring your
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I thank this council for listening to the collective views of people of places like Hucknall and keeping the tram free for the disabled and elderly. In November, this council announced that they were launching a consultation on scrapping free concessionary tram travel for over 150,000 pensioners. At that time, your Hucknall Ashfield independent councillors vowed to oppose the cost-cutting move and encourage residents to have their say against these cruel plans. This was through Nottinghamshire County Council's favourite newspaper, the trusted Hucknall Dispatch. Pensioners in Hucknall got in touch with councillors David Shaw, John Wilmot and I in their hundreds. The proposed tram travel cuts, announced just days after the Tories said there wouldn't be any, were cruel, self-defeating and would have left thousands isolated. The consultation was announced just days after it was revealed that Nottinghamshire County Council is facing a financial crisis and their deficit had doubled to 60 million in just 2 months. As a public transport user myself, I know how much pensioners in places like Bulwell and Hucknall value free off-peak tram travel. As I said at the start of my remarks, the fact that you have been forced to reverse your plans is welcome. Indeed, the current Tory leader of this council has now said that there was no plan to axe the concessionary tram travel. So my question is, why spend £3,200 on a consultation? Why frighten the elderly and disabled? I would hope that this council learns lessons from this and will not play cruel games that impact so many lives in future. I would also like to thank everybody who campaigned against these proposed cuts, including the readers of the Hucknall Dispatch. Let us be very clear, Mr. Chairman, if it wasn't for uproar and the opposition to this cruel cut, the Tories opposite would have now had no hesitation in voting to end this concessionary travel. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Henshaw and Councillor Oliver, can you submit yours again at the next meeting, please? Because we're out of time. Item 6A, presentation of petitions. I was notified of 9 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is a 1-minute time limit for the presentation of each petition and there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item. First petition, Councillor Lawton, request to improve bus service from Farnsfield to other towns. Councillor Lawton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to speaking to the new mayor about this. There's a major problem, as we all know, in North Nottinghamshire with the east-west route as far as transport is concerned with buses. If you want to go north-south, there's no problem. You get as many buses as you like. I mean, I'm looking at Mike. Mike's well aware of trying to access, say, for example, Newark Hospital or Kingsmill Hospital going east-west is always an extreme difficulty. And the young people of Farnsfield have picked up on this and collected a petition on behalf of the residents of Farnsfield, but it also impacts on many of the villages in North Nottinghamshire, which I represent and other people in this chamber represent, and will be one of the first things that I speak to Ben about when he becomes mayor. So, oh, sorry, I apologise. When the new mayor takes their place, it will be one of the first things that I talk to them about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walton. The next petition is from Councillor Smith, request for a pedestrian crossing at the top of Beacon Hill, Newark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm presenting a petition today calling on this council to install a pedestrian crossing at the top of Beacon Hill Road near its junction with Lavender Way. Beacon Hill Road, for those who don't know it, is an extremely busy road which families of the Heights and the Autumn Croft estate in my division use to cross the road whilst walking to Coddington School down the road. But doing that at the moment can sometimes be difficult and dangerous due to how busy the road is. So this petition calls for a crossing to be installed there. It's been signed by over 140 residents, most of whom live on and around Beacon Hill Road, and it has my full support, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. The next petition is from Councillor Roger Jackson, with a request for a new roundabout at Gunthorpe.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I rise to present this petition. I will say it's a petition of 1,200 signatures, and this has been put together by the local parish council and local residents, and to be signed by the local residents' business, who always suffer to get in and out of Gunthorpe, especially at peak times on the 6097 near to Gunthorpe Bridge. I did raise this issue in January in my constituent speech, that Gunthorpe and its residents seem to be a forgotten village of Nottinghamshire, as it's the only village along the 614-6097 corridor without any mechanical means of leaving the village. And with all the improvements on these junctions that are going ahead over the next couple of years, that it will only increase the volume of traffic going over Gunthorpe Bridge and make it even more difficult for the villagers to get in and out of Gunthorpe. And as many people know, Gunthorpe's a very, very popular village, especially in the summertime, being on the Trent side, and there's a lot of business going on. There are many minor accidents which do cause us. Oh, I will say, Chairman, I hope that the portfolio holder and the leader take this petition seriously and look at it, because I have a map here where the Eppston fits very nicely.
Go on, Ross, keep going. Go on, Ross. Mr. Vice Chairman, that was very good. You only get a minute. You only get a minute. Stick to the rules here. The next petition is from Councillor Creamer, and it's a request for a pedestrian crossing on Westdale Lane near Haddon Close, Carlton. And I remind you, there's 1 minute for each petition.
Thank you, Chairman. It's, as you said, a petition to ask for a pedestrian crossing on Westdale Lane, which is an extremely busy road near Haddon School. The actual point is between Glendale Avenue and Haddon Close. And the point is that Glendale Avenue doesn't exist. That's actually in Manchester. So that's the spelling way. It's Glendale Close. So when the officers come to see it, it's not Manchester, but it is actually a serious issue. It's on a corner. There is going to be a crossing going in further down the road, but we would still say that there should be room for another crossing because it's an important area for the school. And as I've already said, Westdale Lane has its problems with potholes, with everything else, with speeding. So we ask you to put this in and take it extremely seriously for the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. The next petition is from Councillor Cotty regarding traffic concerns in Hickling Parish.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a petition from residents of Hickling on Clawson Lane, Main Street and Brygate Lane who are concerned about the increase of traffic, in particular HGVs, which are running through the village. This has become worse as new housing developments are taking place in the neighbouring parishes around them, all 3 parishes of them, which I would call actually is rat running through the village. And I would hope that the council has a look into this to support my community.
Yeah, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I was under a minute.
Well done.
Very good.
The next petition is from Councillor Shaw regarding flooding on Watnell Road, Hucknall.
Thank you, Chair. This petition is led by my good colleague Lee Waters and myself, and it is signed by 1,788 residents calling for urgent action on Watnell Road, the B6009. That is the responsibility of Nottinghamshire County Council. The road continually floods and is a danger to life. Any time that there's even a small amount of rain, this road floods and is often closed and causing chaos in the town. Lee and I have continually raised this with County Council bosses and needs an urgent issue. Our pleas have often fell on deaf ears. So on behalf of the thousands of people affected in Hucknall, we are calling on Nottinghamshire County Council to sort out the flooding once and for all. If we can resurface Moores Lane, Cliff Boulevard and High Spanier, I'm sure we can do this road. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. The next petition is from Councillor Carr, and it's a request to deal with urgent flooding on the Bramcote Moor Estate, plus I think he has 2, and the next one is for the request for safety improvements on Derby Road and Woollerton Road. 2 minutes, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chairman. The first one is for the residents of the Bramcote Moor Estate who are deeply affected by recurring floods that have plagued their homes. Dozens have experienced significant flooding damage and distress. The situation is becoming increasingly unbearable for residents, with the knowledge that 470 more houses will be constructed without any clear plan for surface drainage. Many of our gullies in that area are never cleaned. We urgently call on Nottinghamshire County Council to investigate this serious issue. It is crucial that before any further construction takes place, a robust plan for dealing with surface drainage is implemented in order to prevent future flooding. That's that one. The next one's a very important one, which Richard will know about. A dear friend of mine, a constituent, was killed on this junction on his way back for his tea from the pub. Shan't go into details, but it was instant. He died instantly. And the people who frequent the pub, which I do sometimes and which Councillor Jackson does frequently, have signed a petition. This is for the Highways Agency, but as the Highways Authority, I would like you to present this to them because it's very difficult to actually get them to do anything. Signed by 200 people, which are calling for safety measures for disabled people and also the light timings, which was one of the issues that caused this facility. And I would like you to, on behalf of the very, very worried residents of this area, to present this to the Highways Agency for me. Thank you.
The next petition is from Councillor Gowland regarding the tram concessionary pass.
Thank you. So this petition is calling for the retention of the concessionary tram travel in Nottinghamshire. It's thankfully been overtaken by events, with everybody involved now apparently claiming they were always against proposed cuts anyhow. Presumably this change in position by some is because of the highly effective campaign run by very concerned residents and, honestly, Labour councillors.
Yeah.
But this didn't occur till after, as we've already heard, nearly £3,500 of taxpayers' money being wasted on a futile consultation, and innumerable vulnerable residents being caused pain and upset. Thank you.
I ask the council to resolve that the petitions be referred to the appropriate cabinet members for consideration. A report will be brought back to the council in due course in accordance with standing orders. 6B. Responses to petitions presented to the chairman of the county council. I move that the contents of the report and the actions approved be noted. All those in favour? Thank you. 7. Nottinghamshire County Council's Pay Policy Statement 2023 to 2024. The chairman calls Councillor Richard Jackson, who will move the recommendations in the report.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And I stand to move the recommendations which are on page 24. The report is in the name of the leader. The leader's asked me to move it as it's within my portfolio. As colleagues will know, we have a legal requirement to publish the pay policy strategy annually. Nevertheless, we publish it because it's also the right thing to do, to be open and transparent about pay, including the most senior officers, and to be accountable to the public of Nottinghamshire. The council ensures that senior officer pay and terms and conditions are in line with the employees and continues to reduce the gap between the highest and the lowest paid. The council is committed to fairness of treatment across the whole workforce. The same policies apply to all. Our pay is reviewed annually, and the pay award negotiated at a national level by the National Employers Board. It's this is balanced, Chairman, with the need for pay to be flexible enough to reflect changing circumstances, local market factors, and skill shortages in critical service areas. I formally move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. The chairman calls Councillor Camilleri.
Yeah, I second it. Yeah, and reserve the right. Thank you.
Thank you. So we now call members wish to speak on this. No members wish to speak on this. In that case, he calls the mover of the motion for his. Do you want to say something? Councillor Camilleri, you've reserved your right to speak. Would you like to speak as there are no speakers? Oh, thank you. So we put this to the vote. All those in favour? Well, thank you very much. So we swiftly move on to item 8, executive report, key issues and activities. As set out in the Constitution, the leader has provided an executive report. The leader will move the receipt of the report for noting and may make a short statement introducing it. No other members may speak on this item and no amendment can be tabled. The chairman calls Councillor Ben Bradley, who will move that the report be noted.
Thank you, Chairman. I will continue the trend of being blissfully brief if Council will have me. I think just to touch on some of the priorities and issues raised in the report. Yesterday, as is detailed, the first formal meeting of the Combined Authority took place and we approved the Constitution alongside Councillor Lawton. He and I represented Nottinghamshire Council in that meeting, which went well. And we now have a formal body with a Constitution and staff and all the other things that we would expect, which I think at the culmination of 2 years odd of work in trying to pull those relationships and that deal together is something to be very proud of, in the sense that we are now in a position to bring that additional funding to our area to support our residents, to support our own services and budgets and all the other pressures that we face. So a really positive start of the next journey now as we build that organisation, and Nottinghamshire County Council will play its part in doing that. I wanted to highlight Step Fusion and the ongoing progress of that project. We've recently been part of opening the first fixed office accommodation on the site as the UK Atomic Energy Authority continue to invest in that site and make progress, continued ongoing consultation with communities, which has been really, really positive. and there is now a big piece of master planning work going on about the connectivity, the investment and the infrastructure that we need to provide around that site to support the growth of the project, which is another really exciting string to our bow. One of the many positive and optimistic signs for the future that Sir John mentioned in his speech early on, highlighted the visit of the Prime Minister in January, where he came to various sites in Mansfield. I will point out a gap, and I'll perhaps preempt Councillor Strosny's question that's coming up a little bit later on by saying he did also visit Huthway, and I apologise to the council for missing that one out. He visited a primary school in Huthway as well, and as I wasn't personally involved in that meeting, I had not included it, but I will highlight it now as the Prime Minister continues to visit and support our county, which is very welcome. Councillor Taylor and I visited youth services to talk to community youth services as part of some of the work we're doing now to support and facilitate wider community-led youth services through our corporate plan, our long-term plan to deliver more sustainable services in communities. And we spoke about the opportunity or the work that the council could do to help those community-led youth and other services to grow, to fill gaps in our services, to support them to deliver more and make sure that our buildings are full and well used, and we're delivering the maximum possible benefit that we can, both through the county and how we support those other community services too. Just in addition to the ministerial visit on here about the electrical charging infrastructure, I was really pleased to be able to say that yesterday we secured an additional £5 million of infrastructure investment to expand that programme and to build on the pilot EV charging scheme that we have been delivering. And I also met and spoke at an event for Care After Combat at Portland College. Councillor Girling came along to represent the County Council about our work in support employment, work we do on skills and training, helping people who are furthest from the workforce access employment, as well as the services and support that we offer veterans through Councillor Girling and the Armed Forces Champion role. So some really interesting and positive progress over recent weeks. From the rest of the documents and the list of various decisions that have been made, I'll just highlight perhaps the secondary school admissions process, where we've again been able to increase the level of acceptance of people's priority places and choices, particularly for those who follow the advice and list the full range of school choices. We continue to invest, of course, in school places, particularly in those high pressure areas like Rushcliffe, where there is that significant demand and a huge programme of increasing school places along with our school colleagues. I think the rest of the report is self-explanatory, Chairman, and I'll stop at that point and answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. The Chairman calls Councillor Bruce Lawton, who will second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I will second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lawton. This to note report has been received by the Chamber. Thank you. Item 9A, as set out in the Constitution. Questions to the Leader. As set out in the Constitution, a maximum of 15 minutes is allowed for questions to the Leader of the Council on the Executive Report, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. There will be a maximum of one supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. There are three questions as follows. Number one is from Councillor Fowle regarding Prime Minister visit. Councillor Fowle.
Thank you, Chairman. The latest report by the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee confirmed that local authorities have only been allocated a third of government's total levelling up funding, and that just over a tenth of this has been spent, resulting in the vast majority of projects now being delivered late. During the Prime Minister's visit that you just referred to, did the Leader ask why his government is failing to deliver the levelling up funding he promised?
Thank you, Kate, for the question. I raise, as you might expect, the levelling up funding all the time, not least because my own constituency has been in receipt of £72 million of said funding, which is really positive. And I think over £250 million now across
North Nottinghamshire invested in some of our most disadvantaged communities, which is fantastic news. I do raise this with government all the time, and I do make those challenges about the timeliness of delivery. It's something that I've particularly raised in recent budget meetings. And as a result, we've seen changes to the way that the Levelling Up funding is delivered. So initially, single capital pots of funding, later rounds of funding, now long-term funding for towns where areas are getting £2 million a year over a 10-year period, which means that they are building the capacity to be able to deliver better. Because a big part of the reason why there have been delays is that many districts and borough councils in particular haven't got the capacity, haven't got the resource to be able to do the planning and the work to get across the line. So my own experience in Mansfield, for example, is that town's funding for parking, for example, was approved 2.5 years ago, and yet the district council haven't yet been able to do the work to deliver it, and that is a source of great frustration. It's part of the reason that the Combined Authority is so important, because it will allow us to have a more expert team of people with the right capacity, both planning capacity and in capital projects, to be able to deliver these things in a more timely way. So I totally accept that we want to see this delivered more quickly. I think there have been changes to the programme to allow us to do that and build capacity to do that. I would also challenge our district and borough partners to be able to pick up the pace on their delivery too. Some are better than others, but certainly in my experience in Mansfield, 2.5 years to deliver ANPR and contactless parking improvements is too long, and that is on those local shoulders. That is not waiting for government. So there's more work to do. I think some of that is changing, but I am really grateful for the £250 million of investment through those schemes into North Nottinghamshire.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Fowle, have you a supplementary question?
If you're talking about capacity and making a challenge there, I believe that Gedlingers has no funding. Are you saying they have no capacity? I'm sure they have. They seem to me to be a very effective question. But I don't think you've answered the question. A third of government's total levelling up funding has not been allocated, and 10th is not being spent. The numbers you're talking about are quite small, kind of in relation. So I think you've not answered the question. So I'd like you to kind of have another go, please. And just to say as well, I'm sure that when Claire Ward's elected, we'll get a much better job. She'll do a much better job for this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley, to reply.
With respect, Kate, the question was, have you raised this with the Prime Minister? The answer to which was yes, which I said in the first sentence. I think the rest of my answer speaks for itself.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Question 2 from Councillor Zadrosny regarding Prime Minister visit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report contains information about a visit from the current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, to a youth centre in Mansfield on January the 4th. Did Mr. Sunak visit anywhere else in Nottinghamshire that day?
Thanks, Jason. I'm grateful for the question, and it has prompted me to correct the report as you came into the room just a few minutes ago to say that he did also visit a primary school in Huthwaite. I'm grateful for you pointing it out. The reason is simply that I wasn't personally involved in that visit, so it had slipped my mind. I'm grateful for you reminding me of it. It's now on the record, and hopefully that tackles your question.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Zadrosny, have you a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ben, for correcting that. As we know, on the 4th of January, the Prime Minister visited the former John Davis, Woodland View, with Mr. Anderson, and also at this visit was Councillor Anderson, who is the Deputy Cabinet Member for Children and Families. And I wondered why you neglected from this important visit when such a senior member of your administration was in attendance in what could have been seen as a snub to the families of Huthwaite. I'm glad that you've taken that opportunity to correct it. The question is, was it taken out of the report because the now Reform Member of Parliament for Ashfield will be supporting the Reform candidate, Alan Graves, in the upcoming mayoral elections?
Thank you. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Chairman. As I've already explained, it was not in the report because I wasn't personally involved in the visit, and I'm happy to correct the record and put on the record if we can amend the report in any way going forward. I'm very happy to do that. I'll look at our Democratic Services staff to see if we can do that. And I don't believe the member for Ashfield has made any such statement, nor do I expect him to.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. We appear to have another question from Councillor Fowle regarding Prime Minister visit and ministerial visit. Councillor Fowle.
Okay. Our region has the lowest level of transport spend per head of any UK region or nation. Analysis of Treasury spending undertaken by East Midlands councils confirms that if we were funded by UK average, we would have an extra £1.26 billion to spend on transport every year. Did the leader raise this during the visits of either the Department for Transport Minister or for the Prime Minister?
Thank you again for the question. I did, and I regularly do. I'm sure it won't have slipped the Chamber's notice that we have recently secured a £1.5 billion increase in transport funding for our region to tackle this precise issue. And that inequality in funding goes on and goes back several decades through governments of both varieties. And it's great news, actually, that we're finally able to start to tackle some of that inequality to make sure that we have got almost a fourfold increase in our transport budget for the years ahead. That's really good news for our communities because it means we can invest in improving our bus services, it means we can invest in tackling our roads, it means we can integrate our services and all of the positive things that we've discussed around the Combined Authority in recent weeks and months as we've been delivering that work. So I hope you'll accept, Councillor Fold, the really good news that we've secured a really significant increase in our transport funding, kicking off with the first meeting of that Combined Authority yesterday.
Councillor Bradley. Councillor Fowl, have you a supplementary question?
Yeah, just thank you. I suppose to come back to the response to your question, are you really satisfied with the sums that you're asking for and getting? Because it seems to me that we continue to be in this region, in this county, at the bottom of the league every time investment in counties is published. We could do a bit more ambition, really. And just to say that I'm sure that when Claire Ward is on there, I'm sure we'll get a better deal.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley to reply. Can you let the questioner and reply be clear, please?
Thank you, Chairman. If anyone can find her, we'll ask her. But I think in the interim, it's absolutely fair to say that we are never satisfied with the funding that comes to our community. It's why we collectively, and I, have worked really hard to bring more funding into our council. We recently secured £600 million of increase in local government funding through a campaign led by Nottinghamshire County Council through the CCN, which is really positive news. And of course, we will always continue to fight for more funding for our area. I think nearly a fourfold increase is something to be celebrated when it comes to our transport budget across this area. The ability to do that work and invest and integrate and improve our services. But of course, we're never satisfied. And throughout this process, as we've built that Combined Authority and sought to secure investment, we've always talked about it as being a start of something. As the first round of funding, it was £1 billion to start with, it became 3 and now it's 4, and it will continue to grow over that period. We'll negotiate future transport funding at the end of that first 5-year period, which we've currently secured funding for, and I hope that that will continue to grow, particularly if we can prove to government, to our stakeholders, to transport authorities and partners that we are delivering a good job through building a structure that works with experienced mayor, somebody who can build and create those relationships and build that trust and show delivery. Then we'll be able to further increase that funding in the future, and I hope that we'll be able to do that in the years ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Questions to the leader, cabinet members and committee chairman, that's item 12B, are set out in the Constitution. We have 50 minutes remaining for questions to the leader, cabinet members and committee chairman, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. There will be a maximum of 1 supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary questions should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. There are 10 questions. The first one from Councillor Tom Smith concerning outcome of bus passenger satisfaction survey. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to the Cabinet Member for Transport and Environment, and it is regarding buses. Would the Cabinet Member for Transport and Environment join me in welcoming news that Nottinghamshire has been named the top county in the country for bus passenger satisfaction, according to a major survey conducted by Transport Focus, which is the independent watchdog for transport users?
Councillor Neil Clark to reply. Could we let Neil Clark give us his response, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I absolutely will join Councillor Smith in welcoming this news. The report to which Councillor Smith refers, your bus journey, the Independent Bus User Survey, published this month. The survey included 34 local transport authority areas, speaking to passengers about their experience on more than 35,000 journeys up to the end of 2023. The survey provides a robust, comparable benchmark that can be used by transport authorities, bus operators and the government to identify what really makes a difference to a bus passenger's journey. The report contains a lot of information about the bus passenger experience across the country, including specific groups of passengers across a range of categories. But Councillor Smith's eye has quite rightly been drawn to what the report says about bus satisfaction levels in our county because it is such good news. The report categorises areas as either rural, semi-rural, urban, metropolitan or urban other, within which Nottinghamshire is categorised as a semi-rural area. We are particularly proud to be ranked the highest of all the semi-rural counties in the Transport Focus overall journey satisfaction table. For overall journey satisfaction by area, Nottinghamshire has an 85% satisfaction rating, placing it as the highest ranking county. The highest ranking county semi-rural area and 5th out of all the 34 local transport authority areas. For satisfaction with waiting time by area, Nottinghamshire has a 74% satisfaction, again placing it as the highest ranking county. In the league table for overall journey satisfaction by bus operator, 2 operators serving the Nottinghamshire and Nottingham area, namely Nottingham City Transport and Trent Barton, are ranked in the top 6 operators in the country. That's in the country, Mr. Chairman, not in the county. In the category of satisfaction with bus driver overall by operator, Trent Barton, with 93% satisfaction, is ranked number 1 in the country, with Nottingham City Transport not far behind in 8th place with 90% satisfaction. Chairman, I'll be the first to acknowledge that a lot of the credit for these outcomes should go to the actual bus operators themselves, whose vehicles and employees serve residents of both the county and the city every day. But this is also a tribute to the overall bus transport strategy across Nottinghamshire, overseen by both the County Council and the City Council, working with those operators. And let's remember, Mr. Chairman, there are some counties that have stopped any involvement in providing bus services, so I'm proud of this achievement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Smith, have you a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Clark. Very grateful for your response on that. Now, I am a regular bus user myself, the 141 bus, if I've not mentioned it before. So as a supplementary, I'd just like to ask Councillor Clark if you will be able to confirm that the County Council will continue to support all of our local buses as much as we're able to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad that Councillor Smith is a great example of using the bus services, and of course we were pleased to ensure that that service continued. We aim to do even better in the future, that being the defined purpose of the bus service improvement plans for Nottinghamshire and Nottingham areas. Nottinghamshire County Council is committed to investing in bus services and infrastructure, and at the end of 2023 we announced that over £5 million will be invested to support, improve and deliver new bus services across the county. There will be a clear focus on reconnecting communities and protecting services to boost access to education, health, employment, shopping and leisure activities. It is because of investment like this that visitors to Nottinghamshire from other areas of the country are frequently surprised by and jealous of the range and quality of bus services available to residents in this particular local transport area. Of course, these local transport authority functions in the future will transfer to the East Midlands Mayor, and we are well placed to share our experience with the new East Midlands Combined County Authority to support the further improvement of services. I'm confident that a joined-up approach across the whole of the Nottinghamshire-Derbyshire area will build even further on the existing achievements that have been highlighted in this survey. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Clark. The second question is from Councillor Waters concerning smoke-free Nottinghamshire ambition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a question to the chair of the Nottinghamshire Pension Committee. Do you believe that a smoke-free Nottinghamshire is possible by 2035, whilst the Nottinghamshire Pension Fund still has stocks in tobacco companies?
Thank you. Councillor Kerry to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I thank Councillor Waters for your question. The goal of achieving a smoke-free Nottinghamshire by 2035 is ambitious and commendable, and one we should be able to achieve. However, it requires concerted efforts from various stakeholders, including government bodies, health organisations and the community. Nottinghamshire Pension Fund, having investments in tobacco companies, presents an interesting challenge, and you're right to raise it here. On one hand, divesting from tobacco stocks aligns with the goal of reducing smoking-related harm. On the other hand, divestment decisions involve complex considerations, including financial implications, fiduciary responsibilities to our pensioners, and ethical concerns. My personal experience of the impact of smoking has been devastating, and you know that from me having to say this in other meetings that are not as public as this. Both my parents died from the effects of years of smoking, untipped park dry cigarettes. My father succumbed at the age of 47 when my youngest brother was 11. So you can see why I absolutely support reducing smoking rates and achieving public health benefits by preventing tobacco-related diseases and improving overall well-being. A smoke-free environment contributes to healthier communities. And I'm sure that smoking, my mother contributed to me being born a month early in 1952 at a weight of 3 pounds 3 ounces. I'm very lucky to be here. So I take this incredibly seriously. However, pension funds have a duty to maximise returns for the beneficiaries. And as members of the fund know, there are complex regulations that apply to the management of investments. In addition, we should note that divesting tobacco stocks may have an impact on investment returns and potentially affecting our pensioners' financial security. That's all part of well-being too. Interestingly, there are tobacco companies that have diversified into vape market, and we want the vape market to work, because that's part of our strategy for reducing smoking. So divestment could have a negative impact on our policy promoting vaping as a way of kicking the smoking habit. This initiative involves encouraging smokers in Nottingham and Nottinghamshire to quit for good. A recent survey commissioned by the Alliance revealed that many people who smoke do not do so to cope with stress, despite the fact that smoking actually can increase anxiety. While some respondents expressed the desire to cut down or quit, only a small percentage could easily imagine themselves as ex-smokers. The cost of smoking and its impact on prioritising basic needs like food were also concerning findings. So we talk about cost of living, and people that say they don't have a lot of money are still smoking because they have this terrible habit. Fortunately, local services provide free stop smoking advice and support. Nottingham City residents can access support through Stubbit, and Nottinghamshire residents can find assistance through Your Health Not. Nottinghamshire County Council is committed to supporting residents in their journey to quit smoking. Our support includes assessing individual needs, explaining the effects of quitting on the body, and offering free stop smoking aids like nicotine replacement therapy, which is NRT, and you can also access this support through specialist stop smoking service, Your Health Not.
This service is commissioned by us to assist residents, including children, young people, adults and families, in various health-related goals, including quitting smoking. They offer personalised support and resources to help you succeed. This is in addition to national campaigns. However, we, the Pension Committee, must not confuse the Council's work on the Nottinghamshire Local Government Pension Fund and regulations with the Nottinghamshire Local Pension Fund and regulations that exist surrounding the management of its investments. Nottinghamshire is the administering authority for the funds held on behalf of our pension fund members. This includes active contributors, i.e. those working for our scheme employers, deferred members and actual pensioners who receive their monthly pension. At the pension fund meeting on the 7th of March 2024, a couple of weeks ago, that you, Councillor Waters, attended, a report was presented following a detailed review into tobacco investments by a members' working party held on the 11th of January 2024. Again, a meeting you attended. This report set out the following. A detailed review of tobacco investment was made in winter 21-22. The fund's listed exposure to tobacco at the 31st December 21 was less than 0.5% of the fund. The majority of the fund's exposure was through passive funds, i.e. ones that track movements in the overall index rather than by active stock investment. So we're not actively looking at investment in tobacco stocks. The transition cost of moving these investments to alternative passive funds would be significant, I'm advised by officers and experts, but more importantly, the ongoing management cost of these passive investments against a more expensive index would be considerable, especially relative to the scale of investments excluded. Moreover, to introduce a formal exclusion across the fund would require changes to some of the fund's other investment arrangements at significant one-off and ongoing costs, including to some funds where there's no actual exposure to tobacco currently. So, as a result of this, members acknowledged that under these circumstances, it would not be possible to justify the costs and risks of an exclusion policy, but to keep the fund's exposure under review, which we will do so. Exposure has continued to be reviewed and remained low. However, in response to the members' question, a formal review was undertaken for the working party. This found that exposure to tobacco was reduced even further. Consequently, the working party agreed that no further action was recommended, and that recommendation was formally approved at committee 2 weeks ago on March the 7th. We will, of course, continue to consider our investment strategy in the future, as we do all aspects of the fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor Kerry. Councillor Waters, have you a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Well, I wasn't going to say this, but my grandfather actually passed away before I was even born of lung cancer. So this is why it's a personal issue to me, and I can see why it's a big issue to a lot of people across Nottinghamshire. Mr. Chairman, I asked this question time and time again, and a similar question was put by my Hucknall colleague John Wilmot at Tuesday's Health and Scrutiny Committee. He was told the question would be fully answered today. Lung disease is one of the biggest causes of premature death from cancer in this county, yet the Nottinghamshire pension funds still invest in tobacco companies like British American Tobacco. We've got bonds and things with them, and millions more pounds of holdings in collectives. This blows smoke in the face of any effort to reduce smoking in Nottinghamshire. I established at the last pension committee meeting on the 7th of March, and my response to what you read out there is about 35 minutes in. You can watch it on YouTube if people do want to see it. But then I established at the pension committee on the 7th of March, the pension fund is happy. I'm getting to that, Chairman. The pension fund is happy to hold all manner of unethical stocks on the premise, that you will engage these companies by voting as shareholders. However, the pension fund lends out their stock and voting rights to
Where's the question, Councillor
It's
Waters?
like selling your postal vote at election time.
I think you're
to the
reading off
highest
a
bidder.
prepared statement, Councillor Waters.
Therefore, do you agree that this council and the Nottinghamshire Pension Fund should once and for all disinvest in tobacco companies, and the fact that we haven't is a badge of shame that hangs around this authority?
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Waters. Councillor Kerry to reply.
didn't quite recognise a supplementary question. It was a very long, grandstanding statement. I'm not going to change my answer in any way. I seriously believe that we're doing the best thing at the pension for our pensioner members. It's their money, not my money. If there was a real what's the word? If there was real information to say that our pensioners wanted to do that, I'm sure that we would consider that in our investment strategy. But there's none of that. I've not received any communication from any pensioners at the fund that has asked us to do exactly that, apart from new council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Carey.
Chairman, can I ask a point of personal clarification?
Who said that? Because
that's loud on the questions, isn't it?
What, Councillor Hollis? What's the problem?
Something was said by the cabinet member there, but I just wanted to confirm: is his advice to smokers to take up vaping?
Councillor Hollis, you can't ask another question. You're not on this.
No, but that's what was said. I was trying to clarify that.
Yeah. You've had the reply. Can I remind everybody that you're supposed to ask questions, not make statements? So can we continue to do that, please?
Chairman, in all due respect, why are they allowed to answer a question rambling on unlimited and then I get limited to a few seconds to ask a question?
Councillor Waters, you're not limited on asking a question. You're limited on making a statement instead of asking a question. You've got a really good reply there. If you look into that, there'll be a lot of really good stuff in there. So the next question is from Councillor Carr regarding road repairs.
And there, Mr. Chairman, lies the fact that that was a very political statement from yourself as chairman, but there we go.
Councillor Carr, I should have said interesting stuff rather than good stuff, yes.
Right, thank you. Let's put that. Just before I start, I'll dampen the ardour on the ruling parties' benches by saying that you could put the Mahatma Gandhi up as the candidate for mayor and he wouldn't win.
Where's the question, Councillor
I'll bring you the question now. Does the cabinet member for Transport and Environment accept that the fact that the roadmaster carried out works in his own picturesque village of Hickling on 4 separate occasions since 2019 does not reflect well on Nottinghamshire County Council?
Thank you. Councillor Clark to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, of course I don't accept what I view as a very derogatory insinuation in that question. And clearly those shouts of shame clearly do not know what the facts of the matter are, because of course you don't want the facts to get in the way of a misleading headline, do you, Mr. Chairman?
No, you don't.
So Councillor Carr seems to be implying that I directed the roadmaster to be deployed excessively in Hickling. Well, the facts are these, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, the first event was agreed, scheduled and implemented before I was even in the post of cabinet member. The second event was also scheduled before I came into post, Mr. Chairman. Albeit, to be fair, the actual work was carried out a month after I came into post, but bear in mind that the scheduling was done in the previous financial year, before I came into post. Therefore, I had zero influence on any of those decisions. Then,
He's going to get to it.
Can I carry on? Chairman, the last two events were actually one event. It took place over 2 days because they didn't finish it in the one day. But that was scheduled and implemented after I came into post. But it was just actually one job. All the roads that were repaired were single track lanes that were actually in between 3 villages, namely Hickling, Upper Broughton and Hickling Pastures, to use his words, all picturesque villages. None of them were actually within the village of Hickling itself. via district managers working with their inspectors and operatives, decide what repair method is used. I have absolutely zero influence on any method of repair that is used. The methodology could be, for example, could be roadmaster, could be patch repair, could be micro asphalt, resurfacing, or viafix. Such decisions contribute towards a comprehensive operations programme, not just focused on one specific machine. The roadmaster is designed to carry out repairs on rural roads and semi-rural roads. As such, it is deployed accordingly across Nottinghamshire, visiting different parts of different county divisions multiple times. But it is just one tool within a much larger toolbox, Mr. Chairman, that provides comprehensive repairs. The roadmaster is not designed to be used in built-up suburban residential areas because it sprays tarmac widely, whereas other equipment and techniques are designed and better suited to repair roads in more confined spaces. So, it is much more suited for areas such as Rushcliffe, Newark and Sherwood and Bassetlaw because they are primarily rural areas. I'm sure that Councillor Carr would probably be one of the first people to complain if the roadmaster came into the centre of Beeston or the centre of Sutton and Ashfield and sprayed cars and houses with tarmac and grit all over the place. So that is why it is used very sparingly in the more built-up areas, because it can only work in very isolated rural roads. This Conservative administration seeks to serve the interests of the whole of Nottinghamshire, yes, including picturesque villages, and yes, including more built-up areas in districts like Ashfield and Broxtowe, and we are proud so to do. Through this council's democratic processes, we set budgets, you may remember the last meeting, and overall strategies, including highways maintenance policy and strategy, and this is then delivered operationally by our officers in a proper and responsible manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Carr, have you a supplementary question?
I most certainly have. Thank you. So, you bought a machine that only repairs roads in Tory-controlled areas. Is that what you're telling us? That's what you're telling us.
Question.
You spent. That was a question. So you bought a machine that only reports roads in Tory areas? Question mark.
Apologies.
Thank you. Right. Do you really
can I answer that supplementary?
Do you really think that
we've got the question? You just said
just
that was
said question mark. So that's the
You
question.
said that was a question, Councillor
Well,
Clark.
that's one of them. Do you really think that saying that you have nothing to do
that's
with the
two
operation...
supplementaries, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we only have to ask one. Answer one.
Yeah.
Right, you've asked your question.
Right.
Councillor
Do
Carr.
you really think that...
This is the third supplementary question.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Would you like to reply, Councillor Clark?
Thank you. The answer to your supplementary question, which you asked first about Tory-controlled areas, is of course that Bassetlaw
I'm not sitting down.
Is not Tory-controlled.
I could be here all day.
I think you have a question later on about personal abuse, Councillor Carr.
Yeah, be careful you don't threaten me. I'm not abusing you. I've got other people have been allowed to make statements, including Conservative members.
Yes, but we're
so
not
I don't
taking
see
statements.
why
We
I
just-
shouldn't.
Sit down. Go on, sit
Why?
down.
I've got a statement to make.
Right. The Constitution requires that when I stand, all councillors, including someone speaking, must sit down and the full council must be silent. Councillor, I am now standing. Sit down.
Well, you sat down then.
Thank you, Councillor Carr.
You
Right,
picked
we'll
on the
move
wrong
on to
person there, Chairman.
We'll move on to Councillor to question 4.
Well, I was just going to carry on by saying,
Hey,
in
continue.
answer to Councillor Carr's supplementary question about Tory-controlled areas, that Bassetlaw is not Tory controlled. Newcastle is not Tory controlled. Rushcliffe,
It is in the
of
county.
course.
Hang on. It is in the county.
Yeah,
You've made your point, Councillor Clark. That's sufficient. Yeah.
And so, therefore, the assertion is quite incorrect. Thank you.
Question 4, and that's from Councillor Hollis about roadmaster repairs. Councillor Hollis, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you, Chairman. Can the Cabinet member tell us precisely where the £250,000 Roadmaster machine will be carrying out works on Friday the 21st of March 2025?
Councillor Clark to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great that we're having a question about what's going to happen a year from today. I wonder how many people will know what they're going to be doing a year from today in this chamber. There we go. So, I suspect that the Roadmaster machine on the 21st of March 2025 will be in Bilsthorpe Depot, being stored over the winter and also then being prepared and maintained for when it starts work in April, because of course, as everybody knows, it works between the warmer months of April and October. And so I'm sure that preparation will include carrying out the planned servicing and checking of all the specialist parts, such as bitumen emulsion tanks, chipping hoppers, and high pressure spray lines and jets, in addition to completing the safety inspections. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Hollis, have you a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, in an interview with the Nottingham Post published on the 7th of March, the Cabinet member stated the decision to authorise the repairs in your village of Hicklin were, and I quote, made before he took on his transport post. Mr. Chairman, Councillor Clark became the Cabinet member in May 2022. The Roadmaster was on Green Lane, Hicklin Pastures on the 16th of May and Green Lane in Hicklin on the 18th of May. Taking Neil Clark at his word, why can't he tell us where the Roadmaster will be next year, and is it because he misled the Nottingham Post 2 weeks ago?
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Clark, can you reply?
Well, interesting. I will restrict my answer to the bit that was relevant to the original question, Mr. Chairman, because I've already explained about work being done in Hickling and corrected the facts from the previous incorrect assertion. So I think it's perfectly real, and I've just answered exactly where I believe the machine is likely to be a year from today. I have to say likely to be because, of course, as I'm sure everybody can't guarantee where they're going to be a year from today, but I've already explained it is going to be in the depot being prepared for when it starts work in April 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. We move on to question. No, we'll do one question. Question 5 from Councillor Creamer concerning contract extensions.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. The question is actually for the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources. A decision to extend highways contracts for a further 5 years is due to be taken in the coming months. In addition to this, how many contracts which materially affect the Council's financial position are due for extension or renewal within the next 12 months? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Jackson, Richard Jackson, to reply.
Thank you, Chairman, and can I thank Councillor Creamer for his question. Currently, there are a total of 203 tender processes which we anticipate during the next 12 months, of which 70 offer the potential to extend within the existing contract. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Creamer, have you a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. And it's in 1.5 parts, just to be on the clear side. As a member of the Overview Committee, I am concerned at the manner in which contracts appear to be extended and renewed by this Council, with little or no scrutiny as to whether we are, as an organisation, we're getting the value we actually pay for. Does the Cabinet Member agree with me that this Council should only extend or renew contracts when value for money as successfully delivery can be demonstrated?
Thank you, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Jackson, to reply.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chairman. I think in the first part of the supplementary, Councillor Kramer said, as a member of the Overview Committee. Well, as a member of the Overview Committee, if he thinks there isn't sufficient overview of contract letting, well, he has the opportunity to assist in the setting of the agenda for Overview Committee, and I'd welcome coming along to Overview and going through this in more detail. Of course, part of letting tenders is looking at value for money, is looking at current and past performance as well as future performance. But I'd be more than happy to come along and explain that in far more detail if the Overviewing Committee wish to invite me to do so.
Jackson, we will now break for lunch. We will resume at 1:40.